Yeah, 100%. So you mentioned a bit about the Firesite branding. We've already talked a bit about it, but this was like a huge project for you. You had a whole brand guideline you had to come up with. How long did it take you to go from let's rebrand to we are launching our rebrand? How long, do you know how long that was?
Oh man, it was a while because we actually went through the whole process of doing a rebrand. It's always kind of like a lengthy process, but I think the idea that we needed a new logo was a very old idea, and there would always be talks about it at the office, and it was like, yeah, we should get a new logo. It's like, yeah, we should come up with one. It's like, all right, well, who's gonna do it? And it kind of just got bounced around forever until I think the opportunity to work on it came up when there was kind of like a lag in some of the client work. So it was like I had some availability to maybe put some effort into it. Some of the other designers also put concepts on the board, and we all collaborated on it. And it was a chance to kind of reevaluate what Fyresite meant and ask questions. What do we even want Fyresite to represent? So that was kind of a really cool exercise to because I've worked with a lot of clients in the past about doing redesign and development, or worked with people in the past doing branding and logos. It's nothing new for me, but never have I done a project that was like this close to me. And being a part of the company, that's it was a very like kind of a jarring thing to, not only do I have to think about like this business, but it's like what are my coworkers going to think about it? How is this going to be received by my boss? It was such an intense new, probably one of the biggest things that I've ever had to design for my career, putting all of that on the line to, come up with something really great. But I think that pressure really pushed me to, try harder on this than I ever had with anything. So that was kind of like a good moment for me to, I just really focus and get some, something fresh, something good out there.
So I see that you have the brand guidelines up right now. So I think this would be a great opportunity to just look over them, and then you can kind of walk us through what the whole brand guidelines are and what it means to you.
Yeah, for sure. So the huge thing with the redesign was, we wanted it to be a little bit more grown up. Our old logo, I'm sure you've seen it. It's a little cartoony. It's a little cookie cutter. If you search Fireball on Google Images, it's one of the first things that you'll see on the results, just with some text behind it. Like, that's our logo. So we wanted something that was really unique. We wanted something that not only represented us now, but like would kind of like hold its weight into the future, and give some momentum to Fyresite as a brand. So it's kind of like, how do we get to this new logo? And it kind of took a lot of meeting and conversations to get to that point. Asking those hard questions about what is our brand voice? Things that are kind of abstract and hard to put your finger on. So I think the brand style guide is kind of like the culmination of all that research that we did. We really got to nail down like who we are, what we represent, what even is Fyresite, what's our philosophy, all of these things that people don't even really think about their business when they're starting it, but that's like sometimes you have to go back and think about those things after the fact. So I'll go and show the actual logo here. So this was kind of like part of the brand, the redesign pitch, was presenting like the final logo. Also being able to kind of explain like where it came from. We're taking kind of like the existing Fireball that we had and morphing it into something that has a little bit more of a layered meaning. So having that kind of shape of the Wi-Fi signal, it kind of has some movement to it, and the letter F is kind of visible in there, abstract. Having that icon itself be a standalone was really important because we wanted to kind of have just a really sharp looking emblem that could kind of stand to be used in a lot of different ways. So then we had to kind of not only come up with the logo, but come up with a whole system that would support it and, give it the wings that it needed to kind of succeed in any type of situation. So like a lot of these versions have been used like for our merchandise, for our shirts, for other stickers, and I think Jay made like golf balls and stuff. It's just, now that it's kind of in a more like easily presented package, it's so much easier to kind of see the brand grow, versus before we were kind of like, we had this awkward shaped logo. We didn't really know what we could do. Like anytime that we did anything with a logo, it was like, oh man, like how are we going to make this work?
Do you have a picture of the original logo offhand?
Yeah, let me see here.
Yeah.
Before, it was just so hard to make that logo work on anything, you know, like such a top heavy, you know, kind of like a weird angle, and just overall it felt very just kind of janky in all kinds of ways, you know, like the two different fonts. There was always kind of an argument on like which logo was the actual logo, like, oh no, that's the wrong orange. There was all this kind of confusion because there had been so many different versions of it. So it was just time for something new, and now we have like a whole system. We have like a couple of agreed upon gradients that people can use for any type of situations. You have fonts. We have like rules for fonts. We have some like additional supporting elements, some background patterns, and just to kind of give everyone anything that they might need to use the brand in the future. We wanted to give them as much ammunition as we could so that it's like, you know, we can all use it as a team and not feel like it's just siloed into one person to come up with something new when we need it from them.
Right. And I think you did really well with the whole rebranding. I had a question about how you formatted it. It seems like there's like a standard format for brand guidelines. I was wondering where you got that from.
I did a lot of research on brand guidelines before this. Made sense, and it was hitting all the things that we needed it to hit without being too lengthy, or, you know, it's almost like condescending how much shit they put in there. It's like they'll be like, I don't know if you've heard about the Pepsi rebrand guideline. It's pretty epic, but they talk about kind of like the gravitational pull of Pepsi and like all of it, you know, they just put so much jargon and stuff in there to make it seem like it's more than it is. But I was trying to avoid, you know, it's like I wanted it to be short, sweet, but like still have that good amount of weight to it. The Future also, I don't know if you heard of the Future brand.
Yeah, I mentioned them before.
They had a really great course on branding. I actually did this just in my own free time, just because I wanted to kind of feel like I wasn't spinning my wheels and like going in the wrong direction, you know? So it was something that I wanted to, you know, level up myself, you know, and not just, you know, come to some mediocre solution to the logo. It's like I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything that I could to really hit it out of the park. So this course really helped me a lot. And, you know, there's a guideline that kind of put out as an example that really helped me, I think, as well. I think this might be it. Yeah, this is kind of a crash course, and it's like, it's full of stuff. You know, there's literally like hundreds of more pages in theirs that I used for ours, but it's kind of just like pick what you need and use, you know, your best judgment to kind of make it work for your brand, because every brand's different. You know, everything, you know, it depends on what you really need and what makes sense to put in there. For a tech company like ours, you know, might not make sense for like a coffee company. You know, it depends on what people need, and every business is different.
I love that. I love how deep into it you got and how much like you sunk into this. Like you said, you this is your biggest project probably. And then what was the timeline on that?
So I think it probably took about, you know, working on it off and on throughout like client work, about a year.
Right. That's a pretty fast timeline.
I think when it came down to actually rolling it out and like using it, it was probably about a year from when we started just like initial thoughts and like having those meetings about it, getting the intention that we're actually going to do this type of conversations.